G'day, welcome to Carpool Conversations. We're in Uluru and I've just pulled up at Sales in the Desert and we're about to have a chat to Barry Conrad, a performer, entertainer and Are You OK ambassador.
Hey.
Hey buddy, how are ya?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Where are we going?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Go for a drive, get a feed?
We should. So I'm starving actually.
Same.
You can tell.
Always.
Withering away. Mate, obviously you've come up here to help us. We launch Conversation Convoy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, part of this is really about getting people to reach out and support the people that they're worried about.
Right.
And a lot of people tell us that one of the barriers to asking a question is that, it's a scary thing to do. Which leads me to my next question about phobias.
Okay.
Do you have any?
I do. I've got a couple of phobias. First, being too close to people, personal space.
In a car?
Possibly. No, claustrophobia a little bit. Secondly, anything hairy like a rodent, like a rat, possum.
Yeah.
Not about those at all.
So a rodent in a car would be like your
Even worse. Yeah, that'd
nightmare.
be torture.
Having such a public, sort of persona, I suppose I often hear from people who are entertainers that you've got to be on all the time.
Yeah.
What about when you're not at the top of your game and you have a bad day?
Mm-hmm.
How important are who are the people that sort of rally around you and sort of help you through those moments?
I think a lot of performers, myself included, it's easy for us to hide behind our gift because what we do on stage, we're so good at that. So it's harder to identify if someone's going through something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, mental health issues are so rampant in my industry, more than I've ever seen. And it's because, first of all, the rejection is constant. Second of all, we got to dig into that reservoir emotionally to access those emotions on stage. So our range of emotion is a lot higher. And thirdly, there's an element of pride as well. And people don't ask anymore, how are you? If they see you kicking goals, they won't say, how are you? They'll just go, oh man, you're doing so good. But what you do in your workplace and your accolades, that's not who you are. That's what you do. And I think that's where it can kind of get tricky. And so for me, bringing it back to myself, I have less than a handful of guys that I know I can just be really transparent with. Because the whole world doesn't need to know your issues either, but having those people that you can trust and you can be real with and they can ask you hard questions as well is really important.
It makes a lot of sense, navigating that world and you see people, who are always on and always have this, positive persona.
Yeah. Because
that's what, their fans expect, I suppose.
Exactly. Being on, yeah, it's it's hard.
Hey mate, you can you tell us about a time that things have kind of got to a point where you've needed to sort of take a bit of a breath and take stock and look after yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the last 18 months, I want to say, has been quite rocky, personally speaking for me. And again, this is my fourth musical now, Beautiful, in a row. And I think going on that journey, as amazing as it's been, emotionally, there's always a bit of residue from each character as well, which is a whole new thing as an actor. And that coming into play with just me as a person, it just adds a whole nother spanner to the works. You might have to have kissing scenes with someone, or you might you get really close to people and all that emotional residue sort of rubs off. For me, the last 18 months has been challenging and I've felt quite low at times, like the lowest I've ever felt, and I've really had to rely on those friends, those relationships to go, hey man, I'm not doing okay right now, keep me in mind, and those friends will reach out and check up on me.
And how do they do that, mate? Is it a text, phone call?
Both. Those call or voice message. What's going on? How's your day?
And how much does that mean to you when
it means everything. It means everything because to me, I really value people who do that. Like, how are you? Are you okay? Because a lot of people don't, man. In my position, they don't ask you. People forget, they stop asking you how you are. So for me, I value that so much, just to be honest. And I think as a guy as well, there's that whole machoism aspect that comes into it, don't ask for help, and you have to constantly fight against that, I find anyway, to just say, you know what, you're strong when you're vulnerable and just who you are. There's no shame in that as a guy to ask for help.
what would you say to someone who is worried about someone? As subtle as it might be, what would be your piece of advice?
If someone's worried about someone, I think especially you have a real opportunity and a window to speak into their lives if you know them well, and they can trust you. But just say, hey man, I've noticed that, some of your behavior's been a bit just often different to what I'm used to and how I know you. Are you okay? Is everything cool? And if not, I'm here to listen, if there's anything that I can do to help. And I think just asking those questions, it's simple but profound, and that could just break someone open, man, in the best way. Just sometimes all people are actually waiting for is someone to ask them, because they're suffering in silence, and they can feel guilty, they can feel afraid, and they can feel shame to ask. So it's so powerful, just those words, are you okay, actually.
Mate, I think that's a fabulous opportunity to kick you out of the car now, because I know you're feeling really uncomfortable sitting in close proximity to me.
You know what, I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought it up.
See you, mate.